most teams have gone away from playing the Raze. I think KO is not a necessity on this map, but Sage absolutely is. Again, Fnatic, the best Icebox team in the world, gonna rock the Sage every single time.
I agree with that. It's going to be tough. XSET's, I feel like it's going to be a struggle for them to make things happen at anything that's not A.
All right, Rib. I'll give you some merit to that point. It's kind of hard to make anything happen that isn't the A sites, but man, Ender and Riv, y'all don't believe without the Sage they can make it work? Because they did it, and they've done it twice now, against the Guard and now in that matchup against 100 Thieves. So why don't you need the Sage, and why have XSET moved away? Well, I'm going to try and answer those questions in this video, because let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need the Sage anymore to play Icebox. She's no longer a necessity, and we'll see how XSET elected to play without her. All right, y'all, let's talk about the XSET composition and why they're running this comp. So they're running the KO, Sova, Viper, Raze, Chamber. I think, well, 3 of these agents make 100% complete sense, whereas the other 2, KO and Raze, are kind of like, all right, a little bit of a niche pick, So KO not 100% needed, Raze not 100% needed, but they're the better picks, and I'll tell you why. At least Raze is the better pick. Traditionally, teams have gone for the Jet, but you get Raze so much extra utility that can be used and dumped onto a map like Icebox with a lot of close corners. Her nade and her showstopper can be so valuable for spike denial, which would substitute for a Sage wall going up and denying the spike or denying utility. Now, the KO does the exact same thing, denies utility, right? That's kind of all you need to know. But the 4 agents here with really good util, and that's obviously the fragment grenade for KO, BCJ with double shock darts and Sova, Viper has got her 2 snake bites, and then obviously Zekin with the Raze has the showstopper, the nade, the blast packs, the boom. But need I say anymore, basically? So those 4 agents I think are really going to be critical to the success of XSET, in the sense that you substitute the Sage role with a lot of pieces of utility that are good at delaying and kind of buying time with spike plans and defusals. So I'm a big fan of this XSET composition, and you're going to see it come into action on both the attack and defensive side. I'm not going to lie, it's a lot harder on the attack, but on the defensive side, I mean, the amount of util you have is just almost invaluable and really critical to their success. So we're jumping straight into round number 3, where the first round for XSET comes through. They lose the pistol. They lose the bonus round after to 100 Thieves. So this is, or apologies, the second round after. So this is the full bonus round now for 100 Thieves. And one thing that I'm going to bring up really early on, and that we're not going to see the B exit because it doesn't really work out, is that with a composition like this, you really got to put a lot of emphasis when it comes to hitting the, let me find this real quick, hitting the A site, right? And if you watch this match, you would have noticed that they never really went to the B site, and I think this is kind of obviously one of the downfalls of this composition. Unfortunately, without the Sage, you don't have that really valuable Sage wall that blocks off any defending players coming in from orange. So that's going to be one thing that unfortunately XSET kind of lacked in their attacking side, and this is definitely the harder side for them without having that Sage. I mean, having a Sage just makes XSET a lot easier, getting the spike down, right? You can throw these walls up on the A site, one to block it if you want to plant top nest, wall for back site, wall for screens, just denying a lot of info for defenders. And so this is kind of the harder side of XSET. So we're going to go over this really lightly, but that's just one of the things I wanted to know, is that majority of the time XSET are going to just hit the A site just because it's a little bit easier for them. So hopping straight back into this, let me turn Castores down a little bit. But so look at this Sage. Look at this Viper wall and the way that it's kind of positioned, right? It's in a very deep angle to directly cut off screens. And so XSET, their goal is to kind of box this area out, and we're going to see that here in the exec in the way that they kind of formulate their way to get into sight. And I think that's the critical thing without having a Sage. This early round engagement is obviously kind of like, well, Sage isn't really going to have the greatest of impacts. Obviously on the offensive side, this is a really nice slow war because it denies vision here to these players pushing, allows obviously Will and Austin to get in aggressive angles, but Sage isn't really going to make, I feel like, the biggest of differences in an instance like this. Obviously having a slower peer would be really, really nice, but again, this is kind of just an early fight that catches XSET off guard. One of the things that with XSET's composition is that it's a lot of info gathering, right? You can throw the boom bot to get information. You can use the drone to get information, the dart, the knife, which is really, really valuable. And so we'll see here, drone ends up coming out. So it's going to route the right side of sights. Zekin's going to drop a boom bot. So off of this, what they know is, okay, we force the players on the left side kind of out of position, right? So this area, this side of the site should be kind of clear if they get the time right, if they're quick to act upon it. And so Zekin's going to be like, all right, I'm going to take this space. They throw a fragment grenade kind of in the middle here to clear things out. And so Zekin really keen to clear this area. So he sees no one here, right? No one in his peripheral vision on this bottom left side of sight. Now, this Viper Wall being up prohibits the vision a lot. And this is where, unfortunately, I think one of the downfalls of this composition comes through is that you can't kind of like rush to get this Sage Wall. You need Zekin to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And this is one of the faults that Exit had early on in this app, is that they let Zekin, or they put a lot of reliance on Zekin on these execs, and he's kind of alone here, right? There's not a lot of support. A Snakebite does come down, but this is where having a Sage is so valuable, because you can deny this part of sight and this, right? You can deny the right side of sight by having one wall simply there. So you can see the Snakebite comes down, but Derek gets the timing, right? Because there's no wall. He's able to get out, and Zekin's got no idea because this Viper Wall is up. He's got no idea what's happening here. So the Boombot ends up holding them back. The nade as well, because he knows that, okay, Derek has swung here. Or at least Will knows that Derek has swung here. He's going to try and clear and push these players back. So that's where that nade comes through. And because there's no Sage Wall here, unfortunately, Derek gets a free frag in a second. And this is where the composition has its faults. And having no Sage does kind of hurt. All right, so this next round, we skip a little bit ahead to round number 9. There was just a timeout 2 rounds ago. Exit have now put up 2 rounds in a row. And this is where they kind of get their streak going. So again, it's a very big focus towards the Sage side, but one thing that they haven't done is they haven't thrown that wall up too early, so you can't really call the early stack from 100 Thieves. So Xset, they are a lot more patient this round in the sense that they're not throwing up that early wall and giving away that really big Q, and they slow things down a little bit. And look at the change in utility. So we'll go back here, and you'll see it here in a second. They throw a Snakebite that's going to deny info and a play there. So no one can swing here, right? That's what happened in that 3rd round. And this was off of a timeout, by the way. So well thought out here by both the coach and IG. I think Def is IG on the attacking side now. So they throw a Snakebite that doesn't let anyone on 100 Thieves get that early control. And if they wanted to, they're going to be vulnerable. They can't really take that fight. So the last round that I just showed you was a very fast tempoed exit from Exit. This one is a lot slower, right? And you kind of can tell because of the wall that's thrown. It's thrown a little bit later, like I mentioned earlier. It doesn't give away that instant Q. And Xset know that, okay, the Q's been given up. We haven't explored the other side of the map. Rotations are going to be coming in quick, so they need to slow things down. A lot of similar stuff that we saw from that last round. The Boombot to clear out this left side, so they don't really have to worry about this area. It's just a nice clean, so you don't really have to fight that area. And then a drone towards the right side of sight to just get this early info. But this was the key change, and all this utility that's being baited out, right? What did we just see? Well, we saw a Nanostorm get popped here. Now we see a Slow Orb get in. Now we're seeing more and more utility being used here by 100 Thieves, and that's what Xset are doing. They're baiting out the utility that was so harmful for them in the last round that made it so difficult to get onto sites, and they're waiting. They're allowing 100 Thieves to, in quote, set up while Xset, right? They let the Viper's Wall run out so that the exec is a lot cleaner, because that's kind of was the downfall in round 3 that I showed you. The supporting players on the right side couldn't get in. Snakebite clears, and look, the tap on that spike to bait out all that util. Boombot comes out, a nade subsequently comes in after. And these players, they try and flood in. And once again, Xset, they wait. They're not too over-aggressive. They really play the time. They're baiting out more and more utility. And this is how this composition is going to work. You bring in these players, and once this wall goes down, all hell is going to break loose, because Xset, they know what they're doing. They want you to walk into these angles. They want you to try and take this space back, because what you're doing is you're giving them free frags. And that's what Xset does here. Bait out these players into swings, bait out that early utility, and play it really cautiously, because you don't have the ability to rush into sight and throw that early Sage Wall where you can get the spike plant down and you can play the post plant. You have to bait out that util that would otherwise deny you that spike plant. And that's what Xset does here. And that's how they ultimately dominate this round. So this round is, again, something pretty similar where they're going to look to deny early space with that dart, keep those players back, but a lot more patient, again, from Xset. And that's the big thing. They're looking to bait out that wall, which is really early, right? That's 20 seconds in from 100 Thieves. And now Xset can just wait. They bait out a very critical piece of utility. They're very cautious, though, in Stellar's lockdown, which is going to be really big, of course. BCJ only one off, Def only one off as well. So if either of them get a kill, if either of them get an orb, they're going to be able to deny that lockdown. And so that's why 100 Thieves are playing a little bit more cautious. And we'll see the exec here in a second as to how they scale their way up again. So again, similar Boombot. This time the drone goes to the left side because they spot the wall. And the way they're going to scale into this is really something cool. And so what they do first, they break this wall. Zekin does his typical, let me hop on the rope. But he also throws a nades in towards screen. So they're very adamant on getting this left side of the site. They kind of know where these two players are posted, or at least where one of them is posted. So they're really, really big on getting that control. And you'll see here, Zekin, as he goes in, just cleared the right side. So I'll do a little rerun on that. Yeah, so Zekin clears out this right side of sight, sees nothing. Now the focus is here, and he is the initiator, sees nothing. He knows the nade has gone here. Everyone is spamming through anyway, so if anyone was here to catch Zekin going on the rope, they would be dead. And so Zekin then says, okay, let me check this left side. All right, looks pretty clear. The nade would have done damage. The dart as well goes off. This side of the site is clear. We've taken the left side. Now let's work the right side. Zekin, again, checks the box just to be sure. And that's another example of how they kind of scale their way into the site. So to explore the X set attacking, or apologies, defensive side now, there we go. I'd say this is the much stronger side to go without a Sage. I feel like a Sage isn't as needed. And I think the defensive side, you don't really need that Sage at all, but you have the possibility of slowing pushes down by throwing a wall here, right? Throwing a wall here, here, here. A lot of spots to throw a wall to slow things down, even one towards tube if you want to. And so a lot of the composition that they have is really good for slowing plays down. You have the mollies, the shock darts, the nade, the flashes. Well, Def doesn't have a flash this round. And then the nade here, of course, for Zekin. So I think the composition is just fine without a Sage, and we're going to see kind of how they like to play it. Very early aggression towards this B side. This really early information is going to immediately queue over the teleport, queue over the rotate from Zekin. Def in such a good spot. They already know this is going to be an A hit. This wall that they throw up is really big for retakes, and you'll see kind of what they do. And the goal here for Exit is do not let the spike get here, right? Because this is an instance where having a wall, a Sage wall, is really, really nice, where you can throw it up if the spike was planted on this rope, because you block the line of sight here, you make it a little bit more difficult. So they're going to do everything they can to, I'd imagine, keep the spike from going down here, because this is just such a horrible spot to try and get the defusal onto. So one thing that they do really well here is they are very adamant to maintaining this backside control. And by doing that, they're going to instantly throw these players up on Rafters. A drone is good, or apologies, not a drone. A boom bot can come out over here on this Rafters. Here, I'll show it on the minimap. Rafters out here, right, clears this kind of backside area. Nade can bounce off the wall, land where that rope is to, again, keep that spike denial. And because they are so quick to take Rafters, Crow instantly finds that pick. There goes that boom bot, right? Gives the notification players are in this back site. You want to get the spike down. Nade comes through. And as they're trying to plant, right, because of all this pressure that Exit put on, you really can't get this spike down. You have the wall here available, and because Exit have this Raptors control, also doesn't want to risk a plant like that. He does not want to go for a plant like that whatsoever, and he elected to use his wall over here instead, which denies the screen's control. But Exit were so quick to react, they instantly take Raptors control. One thing I talked about early on is that the wall is really good for diffusing the spike, right? You can throw the wall up and kind of block vision or whatnot, but the way Exit work around this, and what I don't see from a lot of teams in both their attacking and defensive side, is that they're a lot more aggressive in this post plant, right? I think on the A side, when they were in the post plant, they were a lot more aggressive in taking this control and then kind of peeling away to play that post plant, right? They're very active in taking the site and pushing these players out, and that's what they do here on the defensive side. A lot more proactive when it comes to clearing, right? Zekin just dry swings through, and Bang is nowhere to be seen. So it's a free spike defusal, but these are kind of some of the very small things that Exet do, in the sense that they're a little bit more aggressive on their retakes. They are going to use utility to put the spike in a favorable spot where they can defuse, and they're going to be very aggressive in that early round. So here's another round where Exet are good at getting early information, getting aggressive early on, and playing the info game really, really well. And we, again, talk about the util that they have for retakes and post plans. I think they do it perfectly here in this round. So we'll detail it real quick. Def looking to break a dart. Doesn't see a dart. Okay, instantly. All right, no dart, only a slow worm. What's going on here? Zekin immediately pulls away towards mid. They are expecting a B hit, right? Wall goes up. It's like, all right, a lot of things are leading to a B hit right now. They keep a couple players here just in case. You never know what could happen. But right now, I think in the back of Xset's mind and in the back of Abram's mind as a caller on the CT side is that, all right, this should be a B hit. I think the nade and the recommit kind of confirm that as everyone here starts to shift over. Now, so as Crowd kind of gets forced off this angle, one thing that Exit do really well, and it's something that it's like a gamble, I like to call it. They will gamble either the A or B site, in the sense that whichever site they don't get aggressive on, they're going to play the retake there. So they play the retake here on the B site. Cryo peels away, and there's a lot of focus here towards mid. Zekin's going to play this angle where he can toss a nice nade to deny the spike plant just in case. He even has the showstopper as well to get it through. So a lot of strong ultimates here for Exit, in the sense of his showstopper, Aaron's Viper's Pit for the retake. But Xset are going to be very keen to maintain this mid control. So that's what we'll see here in a second. Very nearly dies here, though, BCJ, as he wants to throw his drone out. Yeah. The timing is what nearly kills him, but that knife catches everyone here. So no util can be used here. No lockdown can be put into effect at this point in time. So they know, okay, the big focus is here right now. And so it's going to be up to BCJ and Crowd to hold it down momentarily. Aaron not too far away. Our apologies, Def not too far away. But yeah, really, really big focus for Exit. In this situation, their adjustment is, okay, we lose the site control. Let's play the retake because, I mean, they had so much util leading up to it. Double flash, fragment, double shock, molly, full set of util here. Like, there's a lot of util for that retake. So Exit, I think, make a really good call here and kind of slowing things down and saying, okay, give them the site. So another similar situation where they're kind of playing again on the B site, but what they've done this time, saved Zekin's ultimate, saved Aaron's ultimate as well. Aaron can pop that Viper's pit whenever he wants to. He's thrown his wall up on the A side, light mid watch. So this time around, put 3 players here, have players to break the Sova utility to get Cryo in a spot where he can get aggressive with his tour de force. And so that's gonna alleviate some of the pressure and allow players to make quick rotations, right? Because of Cryo's aggression, they don't need to use any util to kind of delay, right? You don't need a molly to slow them down if they haven't even gotten through Cryo just yet. Really nicely done here, I'd say, from Xset is, yeah, that aggression, again, is going to be really, really pivotal. And once more, with the kind of uncertainty that's going on here on the B side of the map, everyone at Xset kind of peels away, just sits around here towards mid and whatnot, and they're going to play the retake again, right? Because you still have Zekin's ult, and, I mean, just look at the util left over. Double flash, molly, shocks, mollies again, util here. Like, there's a lot going on. And Xset do a nice clear of mid so they can make the retake work. Lockdown goes in, but the util that they're going to throw is just, I mean, this is the key thing, is having that aggression, is that the retakes are just so easy. They ping back site, lot of util goes here, forces his player back into B main, and now Xset know, okay, all these players are going to be in B main, and that's where they focus a fight. Showstopper forces them back even further. I mean, this is Xset just putting on a clinic with their util, and it's all because, yeah, they saved that util. They didn't use any of it. They got aggressive and forced players the other way. They did it 2 rounds now that I've shown you. This is the 2nd time in a row. So in conclusion, do you need Sage on Icebox? No, you don't. We did a little bit of a VOD analysis. I compared a little bit as to where you would need a Sage, maybe how Xset were supplementing the fact that they didn't have a Sage and what they were using, or the other tactics that they were using to make that composition work and to get the dub. That's the 2nd time they've done it, by the way. If they can do it a 3rd time, I feel like everyone's got to believe that, okay, it wasn't a mishap against the guard. It's not a mishap against 100 Thieves. Do it another time against Optic or another team, and hopefully that'll prove to you guys finally and everyone in the community that Sage is just, it's not needed anymore.